Hey, how's it going? My name is Bryce Descartes. I'm a single role EMT with Chula Vista Fire Department. I'm going to be showing you basically what our pre-trip is every morning, which is an ambulance checkout and checklist for your morning routine. All right, so the first thing we're going to start with is the cab and where you're going to be driving. So the first thing, we're going to be starting our engine, making sure everything works. From there, I do a visual check. I'm going to be looking at everything from the seats to the seat belts. Each of them, make sure they both are intact, not frayed. They click in and function properly. I'm going to be making sure the windshield is intact. We don't have any cracks. Also, while I'm here, I'm going to be making sure the windshield wipers work. My steering wheel, I'm going to make sure there's no damage. It's working and functioning properly. All the buttons for the heads-up display are working. We're going to come down to our AC. Make sure the AC and heater are both working, which you can't hear, but they are on. Then we're going to come up from the steering wheel into our heads-up display. And there's a few things with the heads-up display that we're going to be looking at, starting with the mileage. Then we're going to go and look at the engine hours, our fuel level. We're going to then come to our display mode, go down and check your DEF gauge to see and make sure you have enough DEF in the tank. Then we're going to come over and check our battery level, which we check every Monday. Our PS Trax is going to require you to input the battery voltage level here every day. Once we do that, we're going to come down and ensure that our parking brake works and is functioning properly. So I release it, put it back in place. From there, we're going to make sure this is our liquid spring function. We're going to make sure the ride, I leave at comfort, just to make sure we have the smoothest ride for our patients. But you're gonna make sure the liquid springs here, and this is going to adjust the height, is working on all levels. So right now, the whole patient compartment in the back is actually lowering, and now I see it here at low. I'm gonna come back up until the light hits normal, and I hear the patient compartment and the full ambulance rising. It's now in place. I'm going to come up to high and do the same thing and ensure that it comes up, it is properly raising. And once it's in place, we're going to come back down to normal and leave it there, which is its normal baseline function. From there, if you are inside your app bay, which we are not right now, I like to then check my high beams to make sure that they are functioning properly. You're gonna take this left stick here and just pull it back, and you should be able to see on your app bay door that your high beams are working, as well as your Opticom. The Opticom you can just push down and you will see on your app bay door that it is flashing. The last thing in the cab is going to be your equipment. So we're going to make sure that we have our tablet command iPad functioning. It is charging properly. You'll see in the top right, just like any Apple product. We're then going to get our EPCR iPad. Ensure that you're first logged in, which you will do to start the day. It's intact. Both are not damaged. And as well as the tablet command, you're going to make sure your PCR is docked and charging just like ours is. We are then going to go and make sure we have all of our equipment, like our 2 radios. These are the portables. We have our mobile radio here, which is working, functioning between channels. We're getting all traffic. We have our cell phones, both me and my paramedic partner will have our cell phones charged and ready to go. we have our headsets. These allow you to cancel noise and still communicate with each other, also while hearing radio traffic. And then the last thing is that you have your Knox keys. I'm not going to give you the code right now. You guys will get that, but you'll put in this code, open it using this top lever, and check to make sure your Knox keys are in place every morning. It's a really, really important item there. Another thing that we're gonna do while you're here is check our sirens and our horns. So what you're gonna do is use this red button right here to turn on your sirens. And we're just gonna give a little chirp and make sure it's all working and good. The next, you're gonna come over here and check your air horn, which is also functioning. Then we're gonna come over here to this left button, which says siren and horn. Right now it is at the horn function, which means that I'll come over to my steering wheel and check for the normal horn, a car horn. I'm gonna then turn on the siren, which is going to give me the hands-free option to come to my steering wheel, press it, and it will rotate between different sirens. So I'm gonna press it and test it. And you can just kill that once you know it's working with the red button. And I like to then come back and turn everything off. My sirens and the horn. And that's it for the cab. So the next thing we're gonna be checking is the engine compartment. So we're gonna come down in the cab and pop the hood, just like so. We're gonna unhook the latch, which you'll find right under the R and D in Super Duty. And you're just gonna flip it up, and the hood will automatically stay in place. So the first thing I'm doing is doing a visual, checking to make sure that everything is in place, not damaged, looking okay. We are not paid mechanics, but we need to know where everything's place is, and if anything is out of place, if there's any frays in any belts or any hoses, if anything is detached, anything is leaking or just damaged in general. This is a very, very vital piece of our job, our ambulance, and anything out of place needs to be looked into immediately. So the first thing I'm gonna start with is our batteries. We have 3 batteries. The first thing, we're just looking for damage, any battery fluid buildup, to make sure the electrical wiring is in place and holding. From there, I'm gonna start looking at my fluids. We have our oil, transmission, coolant, power steering, brake, and windshield fluid. And we're gonna do a visual on every single one. We're making sure that all of these have at least meet the minimum of what we need for optimal service. Gonna come and make sure we have at least what we're looking for in all of our fluids. The one that is a little bit difficult to see is our windshield wiper, which we are going to do a visual and look down and ensure that it is in place.
So next, the oil.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Edit that.
Go ahead.
So the last thing we're going to be, you tell me.
Here we go. And 3, 2, 1, action.
So the last thing we're going to be doing.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I need a transition. Here we go. And 3, 2, 1, go.
And the last thing we're going to be doing is checking the oil levels, because we can't do a visual on that. So what we're going to be doing is grabbing the dipstick, pulling this out, and I just take a 4x4, and that way you can ensure that it's all clean and done properly. You can wipe the dipstick at the end, make sure that we don't have any extra oil there so we can get a proper check. We're going to reinsert the dipstick. And when you're doing this engine compartment, I highly recommend wearing gloves, just like we are on scene on a call. So reinsert, pull it back out, and checking that our oil levels meet the minimum. And put it back in, and we're ready to go for service. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is our walk around, where we're gonna be checking the exterior, the lights, the tires, anything involved with your circle and your walk around the ambulance. So the first thing I'm gonna do is come here and turn on my lights. You're gonna have your master as well as your primary, light bar, and Opticom all in the on function. These should be on all the time, and your master will control when they are on or off. I then come and turn my left, rear, and right scene lights on, as well as my hazard lights to check their function. So from there, we're gonna come and I first start on the driver's side and work my way progressively around. We first have our hazard light right here, and then I'm gonna move back and do a very broad visual of the ambulance to make sure there's no damage, that the exterior is clean, and that all of my lights are functioning properly. I'll be doing this continually while I'm doing my walk around at every point. So I have all my functioning lights. I'm now gonna come down to my driver's side tire. And what you're gonna be doing for every tire is checking the pressure. You're gonna ensure that the depth is intact. It is, for the front, 4 30-seconds. For the back tires, it is 2 30-seconds. That your tread is not damaged, that your wheel tires are not damaged, and that the lug nuts are in place. Next, we're gonna be looking at the front. You're gonna make sure, again, you have a very broad external view to look for any damage, any scratches, to make sure it's clean. Then we're looking at all of the lights. We're ensuring that all of the light bars are functioning, that your running lights, the orange running lights, are working and on. We need to have at least one still red light to meet California code, which we have 2. We're now coming down to our headlights and our hazard lights here, as well as our 4 warning and wigwag lights on the grill. And the last thing we should be doing is doing a visual underneath the ambulance for any leaks, checking the frame, looking for hanging wires or any other damage. We're gonna come around to the passenger side. We're gonna do our same checks for the passenger front tire. And I'm still continuing to look for any damage on the exterior of the vehicle. I'm now looking at my hazard lights. I'm looking at the windows. I like to come to the corner. I get a good view of each side, and the glare kind of helps you see any small scratches you might have missed. I'm also gonna check the function of each door to make sure they properly open and latch. I'm gonna check the function of our portable equipment door, our patient compartment door, and then step back and get a view again of the passenger side as a whole, looking for warning lights, scene lights, as well as coming back into and doing the same tire check. I'm gonna come into our exhaust and ensure while you're in the APA, you're gonna make sure your Plimo seal is functioning as well. I'm now checking the P1 door, making sure it works and it latches properly. Now on the rear of the ambulance, we have, again, your broad general look to ensure that there's no damage. The lights, both hazard, warning, and scene, are all working. I'm gonna ensure the back patient doors are functioning and latching properly. And the last thing is we are going to be doing a visual check like we did on the front, underneath for anything hanging, any damage, any leaks. Now on the driver's side, I'm gonna open the D1 door. Make sure the door is functioning as well as our UV light for cleanliness in the patient compartment. You must be hooked up to Shoreline for this to work. So you'll do this check when you're in the app bay and connected to Shoreline power. Here I'm gonna do, again, my broad general look for any damage, any scratches, scuffs of the ambulance to ensure my warning and my scene lights are working, as well as my hazard lights. I'm looking at my fuel and my death caps to ensure they are working and holding properly. And that there's no leaking. I'm doing my check, my final tire check on the driver backside, ensuring the personal compartment doors latch and open properly. I'm gonna come to the D3 door, check the Zyco lift. So the Zyco lift holds our main oxygen tank and cylinder. I'm gonna unlock the lift, take the remote and press it down. You don't need to fully lower it every time to ensure its function, but ensure, most importantly, that you lock it back in place after you check it. And finally, you want to ensure that your oxygen tank is full and that you have your KED sled as well as your Sager equipment. And last but not least, we're going to check and make sure our Shoreline is working. And again, when you're in the app bay, it is plugged in and the ambulance battery is charging. And that's gonna wrap up the walk around. All right, the last check we're gonna be doing is our patient compartment here. And the first thing to lead that off is gonna be our gurney and power load system. So make sure you raise this up. You always wanna make sure this is in the upper function, upper placing when you're lowering your gurney. So you're gonna unlatch, and you guys will be getting a full class on how these function. This is just going to be part of this checklist. So here you're gonna ensure the function of your power load as well as your gurney. I'm gonna release the gurney, ensure that everything is in its place and that your gurney is attaching to the power load system. I like to have all the belts, the wings in their proper position and ready for our next call, as well as the back of the gurney, the oxygen, all the equipment we have on our calls ready to go. Then we can put this back in the patient compartment. Ensure that it locks, and I do a nice little wiggle to make sure that it sits in its place and that it is charging. So then we're gonna get into the back of the patient compartment and do a few checks here. The first of which is gonna be a very important airway check. It's gonna be our vacuum and our suction unit. The next is gonna be our exhaust fan. We're gonna check our AC and heater and ensure those are functioning properly. We're gonna look at our main O2. We have another headset here, so you're gonna wanna check that and make sure it's not damaged, that the wire is intact, ready to go, as well as our lighting. So the lighting There's a lot of different lights. We have the desk light here, as well as both low and high functions for the patient compartment as well. And the last thing we're going to be checking is our portable equipment. The portable equipment is going to be something that you and your partner will do together. And you know, when you have that relationship built with your partner, you'll be doing every morning, and that's kind of starting your day. You'll have a routine with your partner and build that relationship as well. And the last thing we're going to do is go on to PS Tracks. This is going to be your home screen when you first sign in to your PS Tracks account. You're going to find your fire station. You're going to find the apparatus. Ours is Medic 51. You're going to come down and click the vehicle checks where that number 79 is. And you're going to use this and go through and insert everything that we just covered in this pre-trip check. In the beginning, I highly recommend using this as a tool to walk you through and guide you. Once you finally are working on your routine and you build a routine, you probably won't need it as much, but you will be doing and physically checking green everything that you see here. And then if something is out of place, hit the caution and you'll go through the function of PS Tracks until everything is complete. The last thing that I want to note is fuel pumped. You will only do once you use and pump fuel into the apparatus. That's everything for our pre-trip, our walk around. Really appreciate it, guys. Again, my name is Bryce Descartes. I'm Medic 51. If you have any questions, please reach out. Looking forward to it.